Look at that. Full house. Hi, John.
Hello.
Guess I better get a flag ready.
I gotta get a pair of glasses that I can see. Be right back.
Okay, it is 7 o'clock and I will start the meeting with the pledge to the flag. Everybody see that?
Mhm.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
States of America,
to the republic for which it
for
stands,
which it stands,
one nation,
one
under
nation,
God, indivisible.
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thanks everybody for coming out tonight for what is hopefully our last Zoom meeting of the town board. I can't say it for absolute certain, but I'm pretty sure that we can go back to in person in April. I haven't had a chance to review any of the newer executive orders and stuff just to make sure that we're doing everything to the letter of the law, which is why we're doing Zoom tonight. But it's something that I'll definitely do for next month. And I expect that we'll be back. I know the county is back, but they're not allowing visitors to come in. Visitors still have to come in via Zoom. So that's not really something that we're set up to do. So as long as we can have visitors in for all the visitors that we get, I don't see why we can't go back to in person. With that said, I have a couple of late additions to the agenda. John Hinman sent down 2 quotes for welding and painting inspections for the water tank that I will show you and fill you in on what he said. And there's a ongoing issue of a countywide unified water rate under information that I'll fill you in on. And then also we had tabled that LED lighting quote for the highway and wanted to see if anybody had had a chance to really look that over, come to an opinion on that. And with that, oh, before I forget to mention it, Cindy, there was one voucher that was a duplicate. I wrote on it, just duplicate. So when you go in to send it in, you can see that. It was a general fund. But I wanted to give you the heads up. And with that, Jamie, I will kick it over to you for a highway update.
Well, I don't have any, you're gonna talk about a couple items tonight that I would have, Rob, so I think I'm just gonna kind of leave it go. I don't have anything, and then I'll just do for questions and answers when you get to them
Okay.
topics. I can chime in on them, but no, I'm pretty well all set for tonight.
Very good. John, did you have anything you wanted to throw in on highway?
No, I'm set. Ready for
All
the
right.
other items on the agenda.
Obi, we've had a fun month with the sewer. Do you want to give a report on the sewer?
I hope you can hear me.
Yep.
Okay. The St. Mary's lift pumps wouldn't hold prime. So Sean and Jamie and you guys decided to call in Seaward, and after you inspected things, and they pulled the pumps apart and looked at them and could see there one was really worn and the other one was worn. And we replaced one with a new one. And I guess we're gonna take a look at maybe fixing the second one. Now, they're supposed to come back on one on Route 19 next Tuesday. See where it is?
The one on Hillside.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, the Tuesday.
We did get a second quote on that job, and the other company wanted to bill us $850 to come out and look at it before they would provide a quote on services, which was gonna you know, in all likelihood, make it far more expensive than the original quote. So with the resolution that we passed last month, we went with the original quote on that. And yeah, we had quite a mess down there, and I want to really extend my thanks to Jamie and the highway crew. They saved this town thousands of dollars over a 7-day period with the repairs to the sewer and also water and some other things. But by handling that tank installation, going up and getting it and doing all that in-house, there's no doubt about it, they saved us thousands. And you know, we had no way to get the sewage into our plant, so they snapped to and did it in the blink of an eye. And I just want to extend my biggest appreciation to Jamie and the crew for what they did, because you know, it's not necessarily in you guys' job description, but it was the Pavilion way to do things. You know, we're all kind of farmers or farmer adjacent here, and you do what needs to get done, and that's exactly what you guys did, and it saved a lot of money, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, they all did an awesome job, everybody.
Okay, so yeah, this other pump is kind of an ongoing issue. We had one pump that was completely trashed. We looked into rebuilding it. They said that the housing was actually damaged and worn away. So, you know, rebuild was going to be more money than to get another pump. The other pump, we had a control problem. So that one pump was running 100% of the time and one pump was running 50% of the time. And they're supposed to alternate 50-50 so the wear is even. So that second pump that was run less often is not in great shape. It's pretty bad. I mean, it was really bad until they went in and cleaned it out. But the actual mechanical components inside are quite worn. So it's going to behoove us this year to get some sort of plan together with that sewer department for this, and also, you know, a bunch of other issues with this plant being over 15 years old now. There's just some maintenance things that are going to start coming up, and we're going to need to come up with a comprehensive plan on how to handle these sorts of repairs. So we're not going to tackle that tonight. We got to get our ducks in a row a little bit more about that, but it is something that we're going to need to do this year so that we can get in front of this stuff, so that we don't have another emergency situation, hopefully, and also so that we can plan it out into the most, you know, financially economical way possible and the most intelligent way as far as mid to long-term planning goes. So I appreciate it, Don. Thank you. And I'll throw it over to you, Jim, for code.
All right, I spoke with Matt today. We only have 4 active permits in the town. Said things really haven't kicked up much at all yet. Of course, warmer weather bring along some more stuff, but not a lot going on with that. He mentioned that the notices we sent out to the properties, everything's still on hold because of the courts being shut down still, waiting to be able to act on that. And the only other thing he had mentioned was that their lawyer had taken a look at that paperwork that you sent them, Rob, about the zombie home decision. But he said they haven't had him and Dan haven't had a chance to review that yet. But their lawyer had taken a look at it and sent it back to him. But he didn't have any information as of yet as to what the lawyer said. So, but that's all I have. Not a lot going on.
With the price of building materials, you'd be out of your mind to put a house up this year.
Oh,
Okay. I've got some water stuff. Mark, did you want to throw anything in there, or you want me to?
No, I'm all set.
Okay. So they're still working away up there. No big, you know, big new news. The tank is going to be coming though. Right now it's scheduled for the 22nd to be shipped up. So I guess that's really the only big news that we've got with that. The Water District 7 application is still at rural development, waiting to see what they're going to do with it. So there's not really any movement on that. until we hear back from rural development. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks before the next board meeting, we'll see some exciting stuff up there at the tank site. But other than that, we don't have anything big. I do have some inspection quotes that we'll get to that just came in like 2 or 3 hours ago that we'll take up during the business part. And with that, we will go ahead and get to our business. Cindy, do you have the dates for the terms on the appointees? You're muted, Cindy.
Yeah. Sarah is up on the 24th.
Okay,
Or yeah, 2024. She's done. Lou Blue, we're not gonna do. We're gonna have to do him in September. It's 7 years for Donnie Brooks, so it'd be, and I think it's 5 for zoning.
for John Tillotson, yeah.
So it'll be 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27 for Donnie Brooks. And
It'll be 28 for Donnie Brooks, if he's,
21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. We count this year. 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27 for Donnie.
okay. Oh, and so December 31st, 27.
Yeah. And 2025 for John.
So we need to make these reappointments because due to COVID, they weren't able to come in and sign the oath book. And if you don't sign the oath book within 30 days of your appointment, you know. So these are just the same appointments that we made at the end of the year meeting. So the 3 appointments are Sarah Kingdon, reappointed to the Board of Assessment Review, Don Brooks, reappointed to the Planning Board, and John Tillotson, reappointed to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Does anybody have any questions, comments, or concerns about any of those 3?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Let's do it one at a time. So you want to make a motion for Sarah, Jim?
Sure.
Term to end 2025?
4.
4? Okay.
4. Believe.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Is there a motion to appoint Don Brooks until 12/31/27 to the Planning Board?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Then is there a motion to appoint John Tillotson to the Zoning Board effective until 12/31/25?
So move.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, all right. Next up, Jamie got a quote for removing the dead ash trees that we have on town property. So the summary of the whole situation is we got a whole bunch of trees that are dead and looking to fall over on their own. The highway department has gone out and taken down all the trees that they feel that they can safely handle, ones that aren't right up close to the critical facilities and so forth. And Jamie got a quote from Lathan. Is that from Lathan, Jamie, or is it?
No, it's from Patrick Dermody. He's a timber cat. That referral was from John Eisenhardt. John marked the trees last fall.
Yeah.
It was who the Cemetery Association used across the road last year.
And so that quote is for $1,400, and it was it 14 trees, Jamie?
I didn't go out and count all of them exactly, anywhere between 16 to 20 trees.
Okay.
Good size ash trees, and there's some cottonwood in there, as well as there's a few scraggly locusts.
So that quote is quite a bit lower than the tree removal quotes that we've gotten in the past when we sent it out to like Lathan and Van Buren and stuff. According to our procurement policy, we need one written quote for public works projects up to $10,000. So it satisfies our procurement policy. So I wanted to present that to the board. to get your opinions on what to do. They did just take an ash tree down behind the transfer station, and apparently it was so brittle it just kind of exploded when it hit the ground. So my opinion is it does need to get done sooner rather than later, so we don't have something fall on, you know, any infrastructure down there. Anybody have any thoughts on the matter?
I've used him for some projects, and he's an impressive individual, especially if he has to climb trees. It's really impressive to see him do that.
And I'll just throw in there that he sent along his certification and insurance and everything like that. So it's, you know, this is a vetted professional. It's not, you know, just some guy off the street. Anybody else? All right, I'll make a motion to accept the quote in the amount of $1,400 for the tree removal down on town property. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Second.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, and the next topic up to debate is our yard waste disposal pile that we have down there. We've been kind of scratching our heads on what to do with it. If you've driven by, it's a sizable pile. It's, you know, like house size. I wouldn't know how many truckloads of stuff it is, but it's a lot of mixed material, a lot of big branches, and it's not just leaves and green grass clippings. It's kind of a hodgepodge mess of stuff. Going back to when Joel was the highway superintendent, we were trying to figure out how to get rid of it. He thought at that point in time we might be able to burn it. By the time we'd sorted out with DEC whether we could or couldn't do that, we figured it probably had broken down so much in the center of that pile that we would smoke out half the county if we tried to touch that thing off. And there it sits, and it just kind of keeps getting bigger and bigger. So last fall, you may remember that we voted stop collecting that sort of stuff until we figured out what to do with it. There was quite a bit of pushback. Unfortunately, it was right before fall leaves. People in the hamlet wondering what the heck they should do. So we said, go ahead and put your leaves on it, but please don't bring down truckloads worth of stuff. And so now we still have this big pile sitting here. So it presents a couple difficulties as far as not, having a loader with a claw on it to try to grab that material and whatnot. So Jamie was talking with Lathan and got a quote. He has a tub grinder. We were inquiring about whether or not we could just bring the tub grinder in and rent it. That wasn't really going to work out, but he did send in a quote for $2,400 to haul it away and take care of it himself and clean the slate off. So I want to open it up to discussion for your thoughts on getting rid of that pile. Getting rid of it is something that we need to do. But I invite anybody with their thoughts and ideas for what you think we should do. Now that we have a quote to just know how much it would cost to take care of it, what do you folks think? Nobody? It's a tricky one. I mean, I don't know, if it was all broken down material or whatever, we could haul it out, but having been around it and everything,
The bottom third of the pile is just muck. I mean, it sits in a real wet area over there. It's just a tough pile to breed to handle as far as being able to really do anything with it, put it on a truck, etc. Exhausted all resources. The fire department will not burn it unless the DEC signs off on it. The DEC is not going to sign off on it. So speaking with Tyler, the burning option's out. I did talk to the DEC about possibly placing some of it over the banks into the low area behind the sewer plant where it drops off out there. I got permission from the DEC officer to do so, but I was also told that she's not the one that enforces that. She would be the one writing the ticket, but she's not really the one that gives authorization to do that. So I'm not about to stick my neck out online and put it out there. So bottom line is we've got a pile of debris we have to get rid of. I really don't have an answer, but the longer the pile sits here, the bigger it grows. We get pickup trucks in there dumping over the weekend, branches, tree limbs, doesn't matter. The hamlet, we serve as a hamlet. So it's one of them deals. If we can get the thing under wraps, then maybe you guys can put forth a plan to try to put up something, or to just try to be able to monitor it closely as it comes in from the hamlet. Or I really don't know what you're going to do once we do get it cleaned up, but that'll be another discussion to be had. But first and foremost, we got to get that pile out of there.
I
So
think that, you know, we can kind of wrap that into the whole transfer station.
right, yeah.
Conversation. It all is kind of the same thing. You know, we could possibly bring in like some ecology blocks or something and tuck it down there behind the sewer so that people, my thinking is that if we make it so that people have to actually carry material in instead of, you know, because a couple times we thought that some dump trucks came in and actually dumped stuff and with no way
Yeah.
to monitor it or anything.
It is a dumping grounds over there. I mean, it's tough. It is tough to monitor it. So
It's a very different story, you know, giving the folks in the hamlet a place to get rid of their branches and their leaves or their grass clippings versus somebody coming in with a dump trailer, a dump truck, a contractor coming in and dumping. So I definitely think that, you know, a big part of this equation is coming up with a new system that works better. But of course, you know, we've got to get rid of the old first. So please.
I did reach out to the county, talk to the county. They had a pile of refuse up at their old gravel pit on East Bethany Leroy Road, and they'd hire a tub grinder to come in every 6 to 7 years and to see if we could piggyback on with them. Number one, the hauling would be a tremendous amount of hauling for us. But anyhow, that company they had coming in tub grinding for them really wanted clean, like wood product, because they were going to take the product that they ground, they were going to take it and distribute it and be able to resell it or whatever they may do with it. So their requirements was if we were to bring anything, it better be darn clean. Well, that pile's not clean. And we missed a boat on that. They grind about every 6 to 7 years, and they did it a couple of years ago. So long story short, that's not an option. Mobilization of anybody's tub grinder, whether it be Zolads or anybody else, the pile's not even big enough hardly to feed a tub grinder, let alone pay the cost to mobilize a tub grinder. So that's where Lathan thought that he had an on-site tub grinder set up on a land clearing project. He would take it to that location and grind it there. It made more sense money-wise.
Did anybody check with Domeses? That's right up their alley too. I don't know if that's a avenue.
No,
No,
I didn't check with Domeses. I know they're down working on Jeffries, but the last I knew they're chipping pulpwood and that type of stuff, but I didn't know if they'd grind rubbish, because this pile's got anything from, it could possibly have rocks in it. Stuff's been dumped there for so many years.
I think they got a tub grinder. You can put a cat and a cow and a tractor in it. They just about eats everything. Because I know they sell a lot of material over there, but I didn't know if that was an avenue or not.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure it probably is, Mark. If I called over and talked to Shannon to see if that's something that they'd be interested in doing. I know they're pretty busy down the road, but it doesn't matter. I guess as long as we've got something figured out for this season, doesn't matter when it is, but we have to get going with it. So, but I could check into that. I could give him a call and see. My only concern was I'm not going to guarantee what's in that pile and whoever's going to grind it. They need to know that. So, but like I said, Andrew looked at it and he just thought to hauling it away with his Prentice truck. He's got a Prentice and a grapple, so he could grab it, load it out, and take it to another location. But yeah, I can check with D&D and see what they say. Let you know soon.
How would you guys feel about having a motion that we get a quote from Domeses if they're able to give a quote or interested in giving a quote, and then accept low bid?
I'm
The
good.
rest of you guys, if any of the rest of you guys got any suggestions or thoughts, I mean, as far as tree guys go, geez, throw them out there, because I've exhausted my resources as far as trying to come up with somebody that can do this for us. Even whether, I mean, there's just no good way about it. I thought about pulling the pile apart and getting to the wood and being able to do something with the wood, and you still got the compost, and it's just going to be too labor intensive. got enough other projects going on that we don't need to stretch that one out.
I'll make a motion that we seek a second quote. And we will accept low bid on the given quote or on a new quote if it can be found in the next 30 days.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, on to this tank inspection quote. So to give you a little bit of background, we require to contract with an independent welding inspector as well as an independent surfacing inspector for the paint for the tank. The bulk of the inspection is handled by the firm that we contracted. It was built into the quote, but we need to have an independent contract inspector contracted so that if for any reason we feel that, you know, it needs to be looked at by somebody that's not in control of the tank manufacturer, so that we can stamp it. So I have two quotes here. I will present both of them, give you the summary, and then we can talk about it. So the first quote, can you guys see that?
Mhm.
Okay, from Ensol. The way that this quote is set up is a little bit confusing. They're just detailing the specifics of the tank, but it's set up with their estimate for how many days it's going to take to do it, but we aren't required to go with that. So they're quoting it by day. So it's going to be $800 per day that they come out to inspect, plus $500 for a meeting at the end of the project. They're estimating a total cost of $8,500. We're not fixed at that $8,500. If it's less visits, we pay less. So I did clarify that. That's for the welding inspection. The painting coating inspection is the same. And then there's a $4,000 quote for all of the materials in the report at the end. Ensol is a company that solely does this sort of inspection work. This is what they do. And the engineer recommended that we go with this proposal. Next up is, let's see here. Can you guys see this new one that says SJB?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Mhm.
This is second quote. They are a company that does this, but this isn't their main thing. They normally do drilling and boring, but they will do this. So their paint inspection is $800 a day, and their welding inspection is $880 a day. And then trying to see what they're. I guess they didn't have a quote here for reporting that I can see. Okay. So I just got these two. So I'm sorry if I'm not. Sorry guys, I'm rambling because my Zoom is different than usual. So I guess firstly, does anybody have any questions about either one of these quotes or just the process and need for doing the inspections? Okay. The engineer recommended that we go with the first one with Ensol. They are the lower priced quote with the exception of the report. So that would be the one that I'd be inclined to go through on engineer's recommendation. You guys have any input?
Well, I'd be inclined to go with that one.
John said that when he talked to him that he thought that they were probably going to be able to do it for less days because this is what they do. So, you know, he felt strongly that that was going to be the end of the day lowest cost. So I will make a motion to accept the Ensol quote for tank inspection services. Is there a second?
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
hey,
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. And that concludes our business. Well, Jamie, did you want to talk about the LED quote? Have any of you guys had a chance to go over the LED lighting
yes,
in more detail?
Lime Energy, which is a branch or subsidiary, if you will, of National Grid, they come around and audit businesses, municipalities, what have you. And they've been knocking on our door for several years to upgrade the lighting, whether it be years ago, we went from old metal halides out in the shop to the T5 fluorescents. And as technology progresses, they keep beating on the door to try to keep us up to speed on energy savings. They knocked on the door, I'd say the end of last year, I guess it was, or the first of this year. We wanted to come in and do an audit just on the interior lighting because we've gone around. The highway department's gone around and changed all the outdoor lighting, anything that we own that we're responsible for. We changed them all over to LED already. But inside the building, we have T5 fluorescents in the shop, high output, which are fairly energy efficient, but they're one down from the LEDs. And then, of course, you go through our offices, the courtroom facility, the boardroom, them are T8s. There are no T12s left in the building. But bottom line is he come through and he did an audit on all the interior lighting. And I don't have that in front of me, and I'm sorry for that. It's down in the office. But if best of my recollection, if Lime Energy was to come in and change out all the bulbs in the whole facility inside the building, along with the ballast to go with their particular bulbs, I believe it was, and don't quote me on this, around $5,000. National Grid, I believe, is willing, Lime Energy is willing to put forth $3,000 and change towards that. And the balance of the money would be financed through our electric bill over a 24-month period, if we choose to go that way, or lump sum it, however. Their projected energy savings, again, I'm throwing you out rough numbers, was maybe $1,200 a year or so in energy savings is what they estimate, based on how many days the lights are on and how many hours per day, so on and so forth. But what I did, just for the heck of it, to kick things around, I reached out to Wayne up the country line in Batavia to see if they offered any LED light bulbs or bulb and ballast packages that we could do in-house ourselves. And Wayne recommended just going with LED bulbs. They have them that are compatible with our ballasts. If we want to eliminate the ballast, we'd have to change out the sockets and the fixtures, which gets to be pretty labor intensive. So he had recommended going with just the LED bulbs that would retrofit to the current fixtures we have. That also is a quote that I had pasted on with all that other information. I believe the quote from Country Line for just the bulbs to replace all the bulbs in the building is going to be around $1,000 to $1,100. So with that being said, hey, you got it right there, Rob. What is it, $1,273 for the bulbs. If they had projected our savings, energy savings for a year to be, let's just say $1,000 ballpark, we could pay our equipment back in a year's time, roughly. I'm all for us guys changing them in-house, but I wanted to get that out to you guys. See if we could trim on our electric bill a little bit if you choose to do so. Yeah, he gave a whole breakdown. I mean, a real good breakdown of what he felt the energy use was in the building. And he broke it up amongst the offices in the shop. So lighting wise in the shop, it's adequate lighting to do what we have to do out there. But again, it's all about the energy savings, what they're pushing for. So
keeping the old ballast would result in using more electricity though, would it? I mean, they're just building up a charge and holding on to it for starting oomph, aren't they? Or,
Well, I can't honestly answer that, Rob. I'm not an electrician, don't pretend to be, but like I said, I reached out the country line there and I kind of went with their best judgment on what we could do. And they said they have a lot of guys buying them particular bulbs, keeping the ballast in.
so they were
I
the ones
really-
that generated the savings estimate based on the actual, they generated the savings estimate based on what it was that you were looking to buy and what you were looking to replace?
No, that would have been Lime Energy. Lime Energy's got the energy savings. Country Line didn't provide me any of that.
Okay,
They just provided me a quote on the bulbs, and the bulbs, like I said, the bulbs through Country Line were $1,200.
okay.
If you scroll through that, you'll see on Lime Energy, you'll see a total of what they're, yeah, it's not on that page. Yeah, slow down right in there. You'll see their estimated annual savings on the kilowatt hours if we switch over to theirs. And then the estimated annual savings in dollars is 1,056. That's going with their product, changing out to their equipment. If we go with our LED bulbs without getting into the ballast, we're looking at spending $1,200 on the bulbs, only do them in-house. So to get back to your question about the ballast, I don't know the answer to that. But I guess what I'm saying is if we do in-house, we can pay for our bulbs in a year's time.
Sure.
What they feel the savings is alone. If it's comparable by leaving it.
Sorry for my dog. I really like the idea of doing it in-house, and if you guys are willing to do it, I'm all for it. I guess I don't have enough electrical expertise to know if changing the ballast out would make a difference or not. My very layperson's understanding of it would say it wouldn't matter, but you know, I fully admit that there might be something in there that I don't realize or know. The only thing I would hate to change out the bulbs and then find out, oh, you know, we're not actually saving any money. But I'd be happy to look into it and research it a little bit more.
Oh, Jamie, Leroy did that line thing a couple of years ago. Did they end up saving a lot of money, or, I mean, when I was going there, they just put them in.
I have not talked to him, Jim, to be honest with you. Like I said, he come in December, January. We've been busy. I mean, really didn't even want to make time to talk to the guy right now. We had enough other stuff going on, but he wouldn't go away. I just talked to him in the summertime, but I haven't researched it a whole lot, as you can tell, but I did take the time to find out something very comparable to putting in there that we could do ourselves. I certainly don't need or want the guys to be changing out sockets in these fixtures. I mean, if we're going to go to that extent, tie up that much manpower, I might better take the light fixtures down, put up different ones. Basically, you got the light fixture. So I don't know what they did, Jim, to be honest with you, exactly what the scope of their project was or what their energy savings was, but I could reach out to Eric and ask him. But
Yeah, I know.
you're talking out to the highway department.
Yeah, they took every single light in that shop and replaced it.
Took the light fixture down.
Yeah, light fixtures.
Okay, that's a whole different project, because this guy here is telling me they're going to gut these current fixtures we have, and they're going to retool them to accept their LED bulbs. So
Gotcha.
again, I don't know. He don't give any detail on his estimate as far as what the actual product is he's using, but he did tell me that all current fixtures in the offices and in the truck shop will stay in place. They will just retrofit them. So,
Gotcha.
and shy of getting an engineer involved, I don't have the answers, and I don't think anybody wants to pay an engineer to come in and tell us this stuff. So,
Right.
in the layman's world, I'm going to say you get the LED bulbs and go with it and hope for the best. We can check around, but until you find a comparable project that they did the same thing that they're shooting for us, we probably will really never know the savings.
Jamie,
Yeah.
that's what I did in my garage. I took the ballast out, the bulbs out, and put LEDs in, and they're wired, plus and minus, to do away with the transformer.
Okay.
There's got to be a power loss in that transformer, plus the heat.
Right.
But it's
Well,
great.
if we go that route, I'm out, because I'm not going to put the liability of anything going on in that building if we got to gut them fixtures.
Right.
You're taking a current fixture that's UL approved, and you start tampering and retrofitting it. I'm not going to have the liability on the highway department's hands. We'll leave that up to the guys that do it every day.
Right.
So that's why I said if it's switching out the LED bulbs and we can save some money, I'm all for it.
Let
But if we
me,
gotta gut them fixtures, it doesn't make sense for us at the labor rate of the highway department to be tearing light fixtures apart, so. I don't know if
I would
anybody
like
agrees
to
with
do a
that.
little bit of research just to see if I can't hammer out some sort of just rough idea on, if we keep the old ballasts, what sort of savings are we looking at? Is it going to pay for itself? If it's going to pay for itself, then, I say do it, save the labor costs, and
Right,
it'd be a good spring project as long as you guys are willing to do it. But I would like to look into it just to make sure that there's not a hidden gotcha there as far as,
right,
changing the bulbs out. And like Obi said, if you're still losing 75% of your energy to heat in the transformer and stuff, then maybe it's not as good a move as it might
right,
seem elsewise. I know I replaced all the bulbs in my house with LEDs that just screw into the regular fixture. And if you put your hand on the lamp, totally cool to the touch. But if you slide your fingers up where they're actually converting the electricity down, I'm assuming to DC, I'm not aware of LEDs taking AC, that part is hot. So the light emitting part is cool, but transferring that energy down, with a rectifier or whatever. So I just like to do a little bit of research and then have a solid answer for next month.
right. Well, if it comes down to taking them ballasts out, I guess I'm for myself, I'm opposed to really rewiring them things. And again, I understand what you're saying. I do think at that point we'd be better off if we're going to go that far to look at new updated LED fixtures like Leroy did at that point, if it's going to be done in house. But if these guys want to come in and that's what they're going to do, that's fine. But
I got something to add to that because we did exactly what you want to do, Jamie and Middlebury. The same exact thing. You could get numbers from Jim and what kind of energy savings there was. And we did everything in house, eliminated the ballast and put the LED lights in, use the old fixtures. So that would give you maybe something that you could look at and maybe get to the board, let those guys know the numbers and stuff. But that was what we did.
Well, we're talking again, it's not a small project. It's nothing. I mean, it's a huge project because we're talking, there's almost 50 some 4-foot lights in that building. When we go through the offices and the courtroom and then the court office and again, that's if we got to do each and every one of them, that's going to get very lengthy. There's a total.
That's what we did. We did every single light in the building, the courtroom, bathrooms, break room, the shop. So.
Jamie, I'll get with you on it and take some of this. I appreciate all the work that you've done on it so far, and I don't expect you to, jump through a million more hoops on it. And I fully admit, it just kind of got backburnered with my schedule and everything. But I'm starting to get to see a light at the end of the tunnel for my workload and ability to take on a little bit more. So I will work together with you on it.
Okay.
Over the next couple weeks and kick it down the road one more month, if that's all right with you.
Yep.
We did the same thing in the field house recently. And the only thing I'd add that I'm glad we did is you can't really use the comparable foot candles that the LED says it'll emit compared to what you currently have. You actually have to go higher with the LEDs to be satisfied with the light output. So if you're limited or not satisfied with your current light in there, Jamie, you'd really want to upsize the lamps that you do get.
Yeah, I did question him on that, John, and he promised me, of course, he promised me the world, all to be brighter than ever, but I have a tendency to agree with you. I believe in the office, our break room there, Joel had bought some LED retrofit bulbs for in there, and there's no comparison. The old fluorescents, the T8s that were in there, the high output T8s put out more light than them LEDs, but supposedly he was getting comparable lumens, if you will, for light output, and they weren't comparable.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody. We will get back to you at the next meeting. Okay, just to go over some of the calamities that we've had since the last meeting. Obi talked a lot about the sewer repairs, so I guess I don't really need to rehash that. Other than to say, you know, I do think going forward that we need to come up with a plan. As we were moving around the buildings and looking at some of the problems, you know, those little huts that were set up to house the equipment are 15 years old. They're wood, board and batten, and they're breaking down. You know, it's not a thing that needs to get done today, but sooner or later, something's got to get done. So we're going to have a plan on that. So at some point, hopefully COVID workload is starting to die down and we can start thinking about some stuff like that. We also had a pretty major water issue down at the town buildings. The way it's set up right now is there's an old 4-inch main running over from the normal water main on Woodrow to our bulk water fill station building. From there was a concrete vault underground that had a line going to Hanson, a line going to the library, and then a line going to Town Hall. There were numerous connections under the dirt, also connections in the vault, and then also the connection going to our bulk water fill station. The leak occurred right at the base of the bulk water fill station. Jamie and the guys got out there and they were working right alongside with Monroe County. Monroe County had some real hesitancy as to whether or not that was their problem to fix. And it seemed a couple of times like they were going to pack it up and say, not our problem, and leave. Jamie and the guys offered to do some of the work and kind of smooth that over. And I talked to some of the higher ups up at the water authority and we got them to take care of it and foot the bill for it. At that point in time, the library was out of water because part of the repair blew their water line out of the way. So the water authority came back. They actually moved the water service for the library. So they have a brand new water service removed from that tangled mess of old pipes. The piping that's down in there goes all the way back to the 50s when that was actually a wellhead. And it's just ancient and a scrambled mess. So water authority also moved the hookup for the town buildings. So right now the only two things residing there are the bulk water fill and this mystery line of Hanson's that we're gonna get with Hanson about and see if they can't relocate theirs. The hope is that we can narrow it down just to the bulk water fill, but the longer term problem is that the mains feeding that fill station are breaking down and water authority doesn't want anything to do with it. Right now, it broke at a flange, but then beyond that, it's underneath the solid concrete building going right up through the concrete. If anything breaks in there, it's on us and we don't really have any way to fix it. So I think somewhere down the line, we're going to have to have a conversation about, you know, whether or not we still want to be in the bulk water fill station business. And if so, what's the smartest way to operate that for a variety of reasons. You know, we are switching it out so that people have to bring their own hoses starting in April so that we can remove the contamination issue. But if we do need to do serious work on that building, the way it's built is kind of like, you know, if you're going to do anything to it other than just modify a couple of things inside, you're going to have to wipe the whole thing out and put up a new one. So somewhere down the line, we got to do some kind of long range planning on what we're going to do there so that we don't end up in the middle of the night on the weekend situation where we got a geyser coming out of the ground again. And this time water authority says, not our problem, you guys deal with it. So that's a update on that. If anybody has any questions on any of this stuff, just jump in. Assessment. Earlier in the year, I was told that we were going to have to do a complete reevaluation on our residential assessments. Since then, there's been an update from the state that we don't need to do a reeval. They are going look at our equalization rate, move us from a 96% assessed to a 92% assessed, meaning that our assessed values are only 92% of what the state believes the total assessment is in the town. But it does mean that we don't have to do a complete reevaluation of everybody's property, which is always a hornet's nest as far as people getting their assessments updated. And in my opinion, this year with everything that's gone on with the housing market and the building materials and just, I mean, everything is so up in the air. Doing a reeval at the end of a year, which could represent a housing bubble, seems like a bad idea. So thankfully, I mean, we don't dictate when we get to do it. The state tells us. So we don't have any control of the matter, but I feel like it's good news that we don't need to do the reeval right now. So I wanted to get that out there. As we said earlier, with Jim giving an update on code enforcement, the courts are still closed. We have no word on when that might change. That is solely at the judgment of the district court judge. And they don't even tell me. I wasn't even aware when the court shut down the last time. I found out from Matt and Dan. So, you know, I have spoken with our justices to tell them, please let me know if things change or if you catch any news. And we will have a GAM meeting in 2 weeks. And I'll ask if anybody's heard anything. But the court is getting quite gummed up as far as not being able to process stuff. And also, sadly, our court clerk had her mother pass away. So that's complicating matters as well. So I don't have any more specifics on that other than to say that it, you know, is at a standstill and is kind of a mess. My hope is that if we can move forward with our shared facilities plan with Leroy, that with the aid of their full-time court clerks, we might be able to process through our backlog faster than we normally would with our court clerk. Lastly, we passed a health emergency plan back in December, I believe. It was a mandate from the state that we pass a plan for what we're going to do in the next pandemic, largely based on what happened in this pandemic, which that's fine, but I don't know that the next pandemic is going to look the same as this one, but whatever, we had to do it by law. We were supposed to get feedback from the Teamsters Union on that plan. I had overlooked that requirement. So I have sent it over to Darren Ziemba and asked for his feedback on the plan. He is requesting that if union members go out on a mandatory quarantine, that they only be charged for 2/3 of their sick leave instead of their normal sick leave hours. And he's also asking for provision if you have a child or dependent who is out on quarantine that needs to be cared for, to be able to use sick time for that child or dependent. I emailed him to ask a couple clarifying questions and I haven't heard back, but I wanted to offer it up to you guys to see what your feedback was on that. For the first part of the pandemic, the CARES Act reimbursed sick leave for people that were on mandatory quarantine. That ran out at the end of the year, and I haven't heard yet whether or not this new bill coming through reimburses that. But my understanding is right now, if people are out on mandatory quarantine, they do have to draw sick time. But prior to the first of the year, people were covered and they didn't have to draw on their sick time with quarantine. So what do you guys think? Okay. So I guess I'm still waiting on clarifiers from Darren. I didn't know if he was requesting to have a blanket across the board, 2/3 draw on sick time, even if you're out for your child, or if that's only if you're out for you. I can see some of the wisdom in not wanting to pinch people on their sick leave for quarantine because you disincentivize people from getting tested and doing the right thing if they feel they have symptoms. But at the same time, do you incentivize people then to try to, go out on quarantine? I also think that for our accounting purposes, trying to figure out 2/3 sick leave is a lot more difficult than 3/4 sick leave. But I don't know if that's a sticking point, but for an 8-hour day, it's an awful lot easier to divide by 4 than to divide by 3. Keep up with that. Those are my only thoughts. Mark, you're on mute.
I didn't know if they had it, that they had to be charged for it. I thought there's different laws in place. Not just union, but like, ever since this whole pandemic came out, that there's been different things and rules that has come about and changed for
That's
that.
the whole thing. That my understanding was that in the year of 2020, if you were out in quarantine, that was covered for you. You didn't draw your sick time.
Right.
I heard people saying that, as of the first of the year, that provision ran out and then you were going to have to draw on your sick time. And I've asked around, I haven't heard of anything that's come up that reimburses you for that. I would assume that this new bill does, since it seems like they were throwing everything, including the kitchen sink at it, but I don't know for certain yet. But my hope would be in that situation, like what we just experienced, that there would be some sort of provision so that you weren't docked in any way. Because like I was saying before, if you dock people their time, you disincentivize people from saying, hey, I've got symptoms, and doing the right thing. So it's kind of in everybody's benefit to not be charged anything. But our policy just says that, they'll be able to use sick time for quarantine. I don't know that, from a town perspective, if I'm willing to put into a policy that we're going to float people for their sick time. For COVID, if it's a 14-day quarantine, that's one thing. But let's say the next pandemic is 100-day quarantine. You could, if you just put it in the language that we're going to cover it, that to me puts a town at a massive liability. And you'd hope that the higher stations of government would step in there and take control. But I guess I don't personally have a problem for doing a lower draw on the sick time under those circumstances. To me, it's, the risk of it happening is so far out there. I don't really have a big problem with it. And I'm certainly not trying to ring our guys for sick days.
I agree with you, Rob.
My hope would be that in that circumstance, they wouldn't have to use any of their sick time because a state or a federal program would reimburse them for that. Anybody else? Okay. Whatever it is, if there's any modifications, that's going to have to get board approved. So I'll keep talking with Darren about it and bring it back up, but I wanted to get your guys' input on that. Lastly, I wanted to bring up, there is some motion in the county to possibly arrive at a unified water rate that would equalize a base rate for water between the west, central, and eastern sides of the county. Right now, the western side of the county uses some amount of Erie County water, which is a more expensive rate. They also pay more because their Monroe County water coming in requires more chlorination and travel time for the guys driving down from Rochester, so on. The center part of the county buys on a wholesale basis, and then they add all their O&A costs over the top of that. So they pay a certain rate based on the management through town of Batavia water system. But the idea is that base rate, the same base rate that we pay as retail customers, that the central pays as wholesale customers, and that the western pays before they pay the additional cost of travel expense and chlorination and that sort of thing, unify that rate so that everybody in the county has a level playing field. It's a complicated subject, which I'm not going to get into every little aspect of. But some of the towns in the east have proposed passing a resolution in opposition to this because they feel that their water customers shouldn't be at risk for paying any more, regardless of what else is going on in the county. I got involved with it last week and it ate up a big portion of my week just trying to educate myself more on the situation. Tim Hens is very much the guru on this. So at my request, Tim is going to present at GAM in 2 weeks and really get into the details of that. So any of you folks who are really interested in the issue, I would suggest that you attend the GAM meeting. It is going to be a remote meeting because he's going to get into the nitty gritty of it. But I wanted to, present the issue as I understand it now, let you know that some of the other towns are passing resolutions in opposition, and see what your thoughts were, and see if the board wanted to pass a resolution of opposition, didn't want to, wanted to play wait and see, what if you had any questions, just bring you guys up to speed on the whole thing. This is also somewhat tied into our sales tax distributions in that the western counties opposed updating their water agreements, which agreed to the new county surcharge for water. So part of the incentive for the county not to include us in sales tax distribution is that with the voluntary revenue distribution system that they set up, they can take that $1.20 surcharge away from those towns, even though they didn't update their agreements. So one of my contentions is that if we can arrive at a unified rate and these western towns say that they will update their water agreements, we can finally completely sever the link between sales tax distribution and water and put them in 2 separate categories, which I believe would be a requisite step before the county would be willing to go back into talks to get a legal sales tax disbursement agreement on the books again instead of this voluntary deal that they have now. The amount of money at stake at sales tax revenue allotment is far, far higher than anything to do with water rates. So I'm kind of looking at it from that angle. Okay. With that, I don't have anything more to add before we do our procedural stuff at the end. Do any board members have anything that they would like to add to the meeting tonight? Or
Yes,
Yep.
Rob. At one time, the association that started the Owaka Creek watershed was looking for somebody from the municipality to be a liaison or interface.
Yes.
I would like to do that.
Oh, okay. I will let them know.
Yes, please.
That will be great, Obi. I appreciate that. And I will set that up on email. And that would be really great. That's been on my list, and unfortunately, like the LED lights, it's just never bubbled up to the top high enough to get taken care of these last few months. Fantastic. I want to jump into and just, I know I said it before, but I want to say it again. Jamie, you and your crew, between the water, the sewer, the trees, the refuse, the cardboard, thank you for everything that you and your guys do for this town. I would like to add it up and put an actual dollar amount at it, because strictly through non-highway related work, you're saving the residents of this town thousands of dollars. So thank you for being willing to do that. Thank you to your guys for being willing to do that. And my hat's off to you and good job.
Oh, I
Amen.
appreciate that, and you're welcome on that. I would like the thanks has got to go to the guys. We got a good shop down there. We got a good ambitious crew. They're up and moving all the time. I mean, they really make, as far as trying to supervise them and keep them busy, really easy on my end. They're very, very proactive in tackling jobs. And again, the thanks goes all out to them. They're a godsend. They're a great crew. Yep. So one topic on that, Robin, I would probably reach out to you guys next month, but food for thought for you. And Obi did reach out to the Association of Towns. Once these trees are down, my plan is we're making a pile of logs behind the shop there. And I wanted to see how we were going to be able to legally advertise these things and put them out for bid. I know Obi reached out to the Association of Towns, and they said, once you as town board members declare them surplus, we can advertise them however we see fit. So probably in next month's board meeting, we'll be looking to move on them so we can get them out of there as soon as possible. There's going to be a fair amount of logs there for firewood. And I don't know what your guys' thoughts are. If you want to involve Auctions International, if you want to put them on Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, whatever. Get them out there so people know they're there, and let's get them out of there so they don't lay there and go to rot. But I will be reaching out to you guys on that.
Yeah, I would think, my understanding is that we actually have to accept bids. But I have to look into it to see. But if we do have to accept bids, I would think Auctions International would be the way to go.
Right, or I didn't know if you wanted to do it as a sealed bid thing. Sealed bid, accept any or reject any or all bids type of deal. I don't know.
Yeah, we can do it. I mean, we've definitely done it that way before too.
So, I mean, just to keep it the simplest and most productive to get them under motion, but yeah.
Yep.
So, but no, again, back to what you were saying, no, I can't say enough good about the guys, and things are going very well down there. We're looking forward to moving into the spring season here and getting things going, just like everybody else. So.
We might have to see if you can sell ash trees. I know the ash borer, it might be restricted
Right.
timber to sell.
I'll inquire with DEC.
Okay, with that being said, there's gonna be quite a pile down there, so whatever plan of action you guys choose to take, with any luck, if we can get them on the ground next week. Patrick thought he could get in here as soon as next week. We do have a brush chipper on loan. I want to get the property cleaned up, because we're gonna be probably heading out of there soon and getting on to other projects, so. But yeah, if you could check into that, Rob, or want me to, let me know.
We'll have a fundraising bonfire to recoup lost revenues.
Thanks, John,
Okay.
for bringing that up.
George, did you have anything you wanted to add tonight?
No, not tonight. Thank you.
Thank you for attending. All right, with that, is there a motion to approve the February 10th minutes?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Is there a motion to approve the warrant, the operating statement, and the clerk report?
I'll move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, and with that, I will make a motion at 8:07 PM to close the meeting.
All right, everybody.
All in favor?
Good night.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Good
Aye.
night.